Go. Hey, welcome everyone. Huei-Yuan coming to you from Cupertino, California. Today is July 20th, 2020. We are so excited for you to be joining if you're catching this stream live or if you're coming in after the replay. We are so excited because today we're bringing the one and only Mr. Bret Kuhn, which if you follow Bret online, you probably don't see him online, but you know of all of his legacy accomplishments and all the work that he's doing now. But we're also very excited that he is joining civilization as we know it online. I'm poking fun of him, but big round of applause, ladies, on Mr. Bret Kuhn. Bret, welcome to the stream,
there
man.
You go. Well, I've been forced into the online realm. It's so funny because I've known Huei for 20 years now, and he's more like a son than he is a friend, and it's like they're always like, Bret, you got to get online, you got to do this, and it's like, okay, guys, so I was traveling until this hit 120 days out of the year.
Yeah.
And luckily I have an awesome wife who she understands what I do and it makes it work for us, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, when you get home, the last thing you want to do is go online and do what you just did because, the reward and the benefit of doing that kind of life is being around kids who just want to learn and get better.
Yeah.
And teachers. And this COVID thing has kind of messed with everybody in so many ways. And I feel bad for the kids and teachers alike, but, it's kind of forced me to rethink some things. I feel like there's a part of me that's missing because that 120 days a year that I would fill with, joking around with kids I met, 5 minutes ago or seeing kids, school that I've seen for 10 years in a row in a summer camp.
Yes. Yes.
So it is good to be online, and what few of these I've done. I did one for Tracy down at UNA, Wiggins. I did a talk thing for Tom Alst, with Sean Vega was on there, and Tim was on there from Rhythm X. It was awesome just to talk to those guys. Mark was on there from WGI, and just to have that kind of conversation, about our passion and how we can keep that going for the kids till we get through this and we can get life back as we know it. So it's great to be here. Look forward to this coming week and just sharing with everybody, what we love to do. So.
Yeah, so before we tell everyone a little bit about what's been going on, tell us about maybe the backdrop, the studio, because you've done some pretty serious renovations in the studio over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
it's space ready. Let me give everyone the full view of what that looks like over here.
Yeah, it used to be a multi-purpose room. It was like the treadmill was over here, and I had a dresser over here, and it was just like all these things. And it was, it's sort of the way our house is structured. I got this beautiful window here that looks out into our backyard, and then there's a golf course. So we have no neighbors. It's just trees and grass and, all kinds of animals. It's awesome. And so once I realized that I needed to get going on this online stuff, not just for a living, but for that piece of me emotionally that was missing, I realized, yeah, man, this needs to look like a music studio. So what is yet to come is I've got to get the sound baffling done that I want to put up for the drum set clinics that I want to do online as well. I'm going to be doing some of those for jazz directors and jazz programs, as well as the rudimental stuff and technique stuff. So Huei has been fantastic, and the guys, the team there, I can't say enough in terms of just how quickly they've been able to take this old guy out of his covered wagon and
Come on.
and essentially put him online and get it rolling so quickly. So yeah, we have so many ideas and so many things we want to do, and especially looking forward. I felt like last year the teachers really got hung out to dry because we're not equipped for this online type learning. We just aren't. And part of our goal, I think, Huei and I have been talking about and discussing, is creating more and more online options for your classroom. and having things available. If you're a teacher and you're doing 5 days a week, you're a trumpet player, and you're like, now it's like you've got to teach these percussion kids once a week or whatever it is because you can't have a staff member in the school or I don't know, however it breaks down.
Right.
We want to have things available to help you guys out. So just look for more things to be coming for sure.
Now, Bret, I usually describe you to other people as the man with the golden touch. Everywhere you go, hey, what's up? How are we doing? And everything just always gets uplifted as you enter the room. I know for a lot of teachers right now, the ones who are struggling with handling the news as it's coming out. I know this past week, a lot of news came out that school districts are going fully online distance learning to start and then rolling back in as we go. Do you have any just kind of words for the teachers out there who might be watching and trying to navigate what it is that we're preparing to do this coming fall?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking a lot about this, and one of the options that's happening a lot is kids are being given the choice to come to school or to stay home. So you can do either. I think the idea is that so many kids, especially I live in the suburbs of Chicago, so you have inner city kids who rely on, or kids everywhere that rely on school for so many things. Food is one of them. And so I think there's so many struggles that beyond the education part of just what we're trying to do. So with that being said, my thought process is the more we can get these classes out, the more we can get help there. Then in the fall, if you have half your students coming to school, well, you're going to get hands-on with them. Well, you might not get hands-on with your students that day, but if we can continue to create videos, then your online class could have taken part in something while you were teaching your class with the online part, and then you discuss that and get to hear them play more. One of the frustrations, I think, or difficulties with online is the Zoom. The Zoom is fantastic, but I was talking to Tom Ongst about this. When you have 20 people in a class or 35 people in your percussion class, to be able to hear everybody play and unmute and do this, I mean, a class goes by and you've heard like 5 kids out of 30 and everybody else is kind of doing something, but you can't really hear them. Mm-hmm. So this could be an opportunity where, with these different sessions and recordings and whatnot, those kids that are not in school could be doing other things, and then maybe they make a recording the director gets to watch. Not to make more work for the director, but to continue to figure out how to best manage the process, because I think that's the real challenge, and with wind instruments, it's the same. I mean, how do you really get someone to produce a good sound without being able to take that time to manipulate the embouchure or the way the reed sets in the instrument or whatever the case may be? So I think it's going to definitely be a challenge. I think directors, and I think choir is the same, because I think the studies show that choir is actually more dangerous than the wind instrument world, mm-hmm. because of the breathing and the open mouth. So anyway, not to go completely on a different tangent, but I think that, again, resources like this and things that we can do to help you guys out is what we want to be here for.
Now, you also mentioned that we've known each other for almost 20 years now, dating all the way back to 2002. And all of my time that I've been with Bret, I've one of the things I've admired about him, amongst many things, is that he is very technologically savvy, even though I was kind of poking fun of him at the beginning about joining online. In terms of, this is something that I think a lot of teachers are struggling with, but that you have always been very good at, which is, updating with technology as it comes out, being on the latest version of whatever software that's being used. There has been a little bit of a learning curve with getting the tech set up and the camera set up and things ready to go. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about what that was like, and if teachers are going through that same process themselves right now?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, I enjoyed the process. Now, it was great because I had a guide teacher in Huei saying, why don't we get this mic, and why don't we get, and I'll be honest, because of the situation right now where it's a different cash flow for me based on what COVID has done, we wanted to get into this for not a lot of money. And the beautiful thing is your schools are going to be doing the same thing. Hey, we're going to have to cut some budgets. You can get into this, the technology side. I've got the Deity shotgun mic that Huei had me get, the boom stand. By the time everything was done, it was like a couple $100, 250 maybe. I've got I reset the desk because I knew I was going to be teaching. So Huei's like, you got to show him the desk.
Yeah, let's check this out.
So Pete Weber's an incredible drill writer. You might have known his last gigs were with the Santa Clara Vanguard. And he's a great friend. I taught Pete in high school at Prospect High School, and he's a string director. And he goes, man, check this out. And for $250, I got this stand. Went to Home Depot, got a nice butcher block top, little cherry wood stain. Nice. So when it's time to stand up and get on the pad, I can just hit my preset and hopefully it works right. I hit the wrong one, sorry. Of course, when I'm trying to show how smoothly things work.
We're working out the flow here before we hit.
As we go, yes. So anyway.
Before we shoot the infomercial.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man.
Come on.
Why is this happening to me? Right? So everybody can see that. Yeah. So there goes the desk. Yeah. And now I can pull the pad in and we can get to it. Like next week, I'm going to be standing up doing this.
Yeah.
And it's just very comfortable. I did a class for Vandercook College on drum set a week ago for their jazz director sessions, and it was awesome. But I think the technology part you guys can get into very quickly. I think it's nothing to be afraid of. For me, like I used this time earlier in the summer. It was interesting because a lot of us in the community that you see us all, like you might see me as a WGI judge, and then you see Kevin Shaw as this, incredible writer, arranger, and I live in Chicago, he lives in California, so I just got a hold of Kevin and said, hey man, I want to learn more about your workflow. And we had, like, he is so dialed on this stuff. Like he's got 3 monitors, he's got, Mainstage, Logic, and Sibelius all synced up running together. And so we did some sessions. And then Kevin wanted to pick my brain on some things. So I think it's another thing I think is important for the kids to see and directors to see is go to people who are better than you. Go to people who do things maybe differently, like technology-wise. Like I knew Kevin had this flow I'd heard about, and I was like, and Kevin's such a great person, like just good human being. Like he's in it for all the right reasons. There's an emotional commitment to what he writes and what he does, and I think for directors, a lot of times you get in your own little cubicle. If you have a guy down the road in a different district, I guarantee if you call him or her up and say, hey, man, how are you doing this? Man, you have more support out there than you realize. You just have to open the door. And so I think that would be my other comment for the directors is don't be afraid of it. Keep finding out what other people are doing. I know Chris Barnum at Prospect, they use Schoology a lot. Different schools have different programs. And the more you dig in, the more you'll find another way to, slice bread, make it better. So,
yeah,
cool.
Definitely. So, if you're just joining us right now, we are talking to Mr. Bret Kuhn, and we've got some exciting information, news, updates that we want to be sharing with everyone. But if you're watching right now, even if you're catching this on the replay, take a moment and type in a comment. Let us know where you're watching from. And we have some comments coming in here, Bret, that I'll just kind of moderate for us here. First
sure.
up, we have Mr. Brian Stockert says, 2 of the most genuine people on earth right here in front of me. And it would not be Brian Stockert without the exclamation point at the very end.
Awesome. And I can't say enough good things about Brian either. For those of you who don't know Brian, Brian is the West Coast rep and artist relations for Zildjian, and does everything he can do to support all of us who are in the educational field, who are out there doing what we do. In fact, Brian was one of our mainstays, when this COVID thing first hit, check this diverse group out. It was like Tom Ongst, who didn't always get on there. He's such a busy guy. We give him a hard time for that. Brian, Mark Branson from Remo, Lee Bettis, myself, Joel Tetzlaff from Yamaha, Troy Woolwich from Yamaha, and Giff Howarth, from Pennsylvania, who's a judge, an incredible musician himself. And what an eclectic group of people, corporate, artists, etc., different companies. And we would have weekly Zoom hangs on a Wednesday night for about a month and a half when this first started, just being there for each other. It was kind of like this self-help group for a devastated industry in some ways.
Staying sane.
It was awesome. And of course, we love teasing Mark because poor Mark's at home by himself with, he just, so we give him a hard time on there. But no, Mark Branson from Remo, awesome. But yes, thank you, Brian. I'm glad you're on here. I appreciate you being here, buddy.
And we also have a few more comments here. Matt Holm, shout out. Man, I haven't talked to Matt in forever.
Yeah.
Matt says, "This is really awesome!" Exclamation mark. Matt's been putting out quite a bit of really high production quality videos for like the performers, the all statement material, and I actually haven't had a chance to talk to Matt about it, but Matt's doing some really cool stuff online as well too.
Yeah, and again, incredible teacher, and a great human being. Like, you couldn't ask for a nicer person to be around, Not only is he great at what he does, but he's great with other people and caring. And I think you're going to see that become like the common thread in people who become great. Are there some people out there that aren't so nice? Yeah, sure. But they are by far the minority. Most of us carry a passion that we all share. I always talk about the Venn diagram of life. I think there's a lot more intersect than we all give people credit for sometimes. We have more in common, I think, than not. So
yeah, totally agree.
Who else we got? You're smiling.
Okay, so what's happening is what I was thinking was going to happen, which is, Brett doesn't know this, but there are many, many threads on Facebook that Brett is in without him knowing, because Brett has not been on Facebook. So much so to the point where friends and family of Brett go ahead and just tag Sue as our lifeline to Brett online. So the fact that we're streaming together here and we're announcing some of the things that you are starting to do on Facebook, it's like there's I feel like we're doing the blockbuster reveal of Brett on Facebook Live right now. So we got some more comments coming here. Brian Stockard, the only issue I have with Brett, are you ready for this? The only issue I have with Brett is Cavalier 2000. LOL.
Oh, you wanted a ring. Sorry, dude.
But he does agree with you. Brian says, surround yourself with people who are better than you at XYZ. I got the same advice 20 years ago, and it has stuck ever since. Yep. Kevin Kevin says, hi, Brett, with more than 5 exclamation marks. So usual Kevin energy coming out.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably picking himself off the floor that I'm actually on Facebook.
Yep.
But do you know Kevin? Kevin is him and Drew Dickey head up the brass caption for Cavaliers.
Yep.
And just an extremely talented young man. So
I don't think I've ever met Kevin in person live, but we've crossed paths a couple times. This has happened to me when I went to WJ in 2016, that was when I started getting into shooting video, and I was just shooting video everywhere I was going. And people that I would meet later would say, like, oh, I saw you at this thing. I said, what? And I'd go back and watch the video, and then there's a shot of Kevin like walking by in the background. And even though we haven't met, we've met online, or I've at least been seeing some of the content he's been putting out online. But Brian's watching from Chino Hills, California. Matt's from Kent, Ohio. Carl Drumtech, the one and only Carl Drumtech, coming in from Torrance, California. Andreas Aya says, yo, exclamation mark, my boys. And
Dre.
Yep. Rio Grande Valley, Harlingen, Texas. I've been talking to Dre almost like probably every day, or if not every other day. He's doing a lot of video production content for his kiddos over at SFA as well. So he sent me some of that stuff. He does a great job with that as well. And he's another consummate teacher that's like, Yes.
always trying to push the envelope and how are we going to make this better. And yeah, and hopefully him and I were talking, his group got accepted to Midwest this year, and then of course Midwest got canceled. So their performance will be a year later, but it's what a feather in the cap for him. Again, a great program and another former Cavalier that's out there rocking it. So congrats to Dre.
Yeah. Man, you're blowing up the feed here. You're getting to the point, right, where there are almost more comments coming in than we can answer. So real quick, let me just shout out a couple folks here. Mark Montalongo from Rio Grande Valley, Harlingen, Texas.
Nice.
Nick does quad drumming. What's up? Hi, Jill. And Neil Andini says, so true.
Nice.
Lloyd Puckett in the room. So much high-level video production. I can't even stand it.
And that's coming. If you don't know Lloyd Puckett, who does sound design and all the gear work for Santa Clara Vanguard and many others and marching bands alike, he is my other in-town go-to technological guru. He's another one that blows me away. It's like, Lloyd, I'm having an issue with this. All right, let me call you right back. 5 minutes later. Okay, do this, do that, go here. And he's like, he's got it figured out. He's got it done. So thank you, Lloyd.
Yes, thank you, Lloyd, 10 times over. When I first moved to California, I didn't really have any technology shops. I remember I hadn't gotten into any audio production, how to record, how to edit, anything like that. And again, same thing. Lloyd is the go-to guy. He says, okay, this is what you need. This is what you get. This is how you do this. This is how you wire it up. On and on and on. So Lloyd is the gold standard for all tech things that we're doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then we also have Michael Newbert. Waldo, whoa, he's alive! Exclamation
mark. Yeah, you never thought it would happen, did you, Waldo?
Well, Waldo was...
Michael's like, what? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Waldo, for those who may not know Michael Newbert, he was our battery Viz Tech my first year at Cavs. Second year was Ted, and I think third year Waldo might have come back. It gets a little... You think you'll never forget, but it gets a little fuzzy. But Waldo was responsible for cleaning us in 02 for sure. And then it's
funny, people will come up and go, man, remember that thing you wrote back in 04? No. Even when I was at Regiment in 14, 15, 16, again, awesome kids. Way, you were there to help me start that program. So many good people there. Dan Farrell, Rick Valenzuela, etc. Dan Richardson. But long story short, even after 15 or 16, people would be like, man, I love that thing you wrote in the closer or this opener thing. And I'd be like, or the kid, maybe it's a student at high school camp. Hey, can you play me that part you wrote? I'm like, no, I don't remember it.
No, I can't.
It's really weird. It's like you would think a person who writes it and dives into it, but it's almost like it's like next. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like they're this a la carte conveyor belt, I guess. It's like you're always on to the next project. So I don't really – it's weird. I guess when I was young and I was teaching in the trenches all the time and I was there 80% of the summer, I probably had more memories of individual parts. But, it's funny. It's hard to remember.
Man, I can't even imagine because just imagining the amount of notes that have come out of your brain to your hands to the computer out into the world at this point. I mean, do you even have a ballpark estimate of how many scores you've worked on at this point?
No. But it's it's a good thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or how many notes came out and then had to get changed or go away. There's that part too. I always say Mozart died a long time ago. There's no first draft. As much as we would love that to happen.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, again, to everyone who might be joining, we're almost approaching the 30-minute mark. A couple more folks coming in. Paul Wersiak, great to hear two of the best people and educators out there being real. Appreciate you both. Thanks so much, Paul. Good to hear from you.
Hey, thanks, Paul.
We got to catch up. Troy Wallage says soup shop. BK.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story from a Yamaha trip we took to Japan. But
and then Nick Thomas says so many notes. ... So many ninelets. Nines and
There you
fives.
go.
Yeah.
Nines and fives, right?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Brett, you mentioned, and right now, right before we went live, we were talking about, hey, what should we talk about? And I said, you know what, I feel like this is just one of our usual calls that we do, and we're kind of letting everyone into the room. Everyone's kind of flying on the wall talking. And the thing that I always say about Brett is that, even though we've been together for almost 20 years, every time I hang out with you, every time I talk to you, even if it's just like a, hey, what's up? What are you doing this weekend? I will still learn something from Brett. You told me something a couple weeks ago about that O2 snare break, the kind of the motivation behind it, and then how you started using or why you started using fives. It wasn't like, hey, let me just stick in a weird subdivision for the sake of sticking a weird subdivision. Can you just share that little nugget that you told me in passing last week?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I started using the fivelet stuff before that moment. It was around 99, 2000, when all of a sudden it was like 192 was like an average tempo. It was crazy. I mean, cores were just, Cavaliers, we were flying around the field a lot. And so the fivelet was a nice change from the triplet roll, especially when the battery's deeper into the brass in the back, in order to get projection. So for me, it was more like just that one metric change allowed the body of sound to grow. So that's when we used to do the, what did I call it? Can't remember what I called it. It was the exercise that went between the fivelets and the doubles. I'll find it and throw it out next week. Was it
New Mojo?
Yeah, New Mojo. There we go. Yeah,
we had Mojo, and then we had New Mojo, and then we had New Mojo when we had all the fives.
It would go between triplets and fives, right? And then you fill it with rolls and do whatever. But
and admittedly, I have to say that I had never even seen a five on a piece of paper in music until Brett passed it out for the first time. I got it, and I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. So we definitely needed an exercise to teach us how to do it.
Right, and feel it the right way, right?
Right.
But yeah, the lick you're talking about in O2, that moment for the snare line, the idea was that musically we wanted it to feel like a fermata, essentially. We kind of wanted it to feel like time went away. So the use of fivelets and paradiddles and different rudiments within those fivelets, but not like on 1 and 3 all the time, kind of got juxtaposed, kind of gave it a sense of all time stopped, even though you could put a metronome right with it. Because I remember breaking that down with you guys. I think we were here in town somewhere. It was by a football field, and I took the snare line, and we did like 2 hours on that, and just
I remember that block crystal clear.
Yeah, and that was like the where things came clear to, I think, all the guys in the line. But and then it gave me a chance to explain the motivation more and talk deeper about the music. And it wasn't just about the notes on the page, so to speak.
Yep.
So yeah. Next week, hopefully, we'll get some questions on that, because we really want to try to satisfy the beginner, but also the more advanced player that might be on the program.
Yeah. So I actually credit that snare block, and so what am I? I'm probably like 18, 19, I guess, at that time. And I credit that snare block as where I started to pay attention to, like, oh, that's how you clean a snare line. Because you can have a line of amazing players who are playing amazing notes, but there is a very clear, systematic process that works that takes you from, 9 people who can play to 9 people who can play together to 9 people who can play together, something that's very complicated and perhaps even dense and difficult. So that's one of the things that we're hoping to cover next week. And maybe this is a good chance for us to kind of switch over and tell everyone a little bit about what we're doing next week. So let me...
Yeah.
This is what's happening on the computer at the moment, but let me flip over here. This is we're very excited because this has been in the making for maybe 2 or 3 weeks now. But next week on Monday, we're going to be hosting a class with Brett that's going to be open to teachers and students out there, and we're calling it the Summer Tune-Up of 2020 with Bret Kuhn. And it's going to be 5 days long, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can come in here, and if you want to learn more about it, there's the weekly breakdown of some of the topics that we're going to be covering. But Brett, maybe you could tell us just a little bit about the class, the motivation behind it, and some of the things that we're gonna be talking about.
Yeah, the main motivation is just giving kids and instructors kind of that last end of summer outlet to kind of like work on their hands, talk a little bit about intricacies of what we want to do or what they need to do, and also give maybe some of the staff or teachers out there some ideas on how we go about breaking down some of these techniques, how we approach them with muscular aspects, fingers, wrist, arm, large lever type things. So it's going to be a lot of talk. It's going to be very organic. That's how I tend to run things. If a question pops up, and we'll let it slide into that question, it's going to be very malleable. So hopefully the class will feel like it's very tailor-made informationally. And I think that it'll be a chance for the kids to experience some new things. Like we're going to do the usual legato, control stroke, just how we approach those things. We're going to do some double triple beat. We're going to do some of that in odd time on purpose, just to throw some odd time in there. And how does 5/4 feel relative to 9/8, or how does this feel? So things not as stock. We're going to do some what we call michis, which if you take the class, you'll learn more about, which is just another grid. But it's what I like to call a melodic grid, and I'll explain what that means, how I hear the melody. I'll have some backing tracks, just some basic drum set grooves underneath everything we do, so it's less metronome motivated. I'm a huge advocate of drumming with music. We'll probably do some drumming with music next week and talk about the pros and cons of that. Not a pro. And I think that a culmination of the week will be musical x-ray, which is more examining like what we did in O2 and the different times I'll take the snare line or battery or whatever it is, but how to get inside the notes and just clear everything out and get back to like, what are the root fundamentals we have to be great at? Well, I can tell you, eights, accent tap, double stroke rolls. I mean, there's 3 or 4 things that if you're great at, once you get those mapped out, these more difficult things you want to play are going to become inherently easier. A lot of times kids see, they see all the fancy stuff over here. They want to get to the Christmas tree with all the shiny bells, baubles, and lights on it. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Why don't we just start with the tree first, and then let's just decorate it a little bit at a time. So we'll be going through that whole process. I think it'll be a nice 5-day flow. And Huei and I have talked. If Friday comes and we have an end of the week influx of questions and we need to extend a little bit on that last day, we'll do that. But we just want to fulfill the educational needs of so many out there.
Yeah, and it's going to be super, super exciting because with technology, it's one of the struggles that we're dealing with is that we're doing this all through technology. One of the benefits of technology is that we're able to capture it, share it, use it, and it is about helping all the teachers out there because we're all kind of figuring it out as we go right now. And especially if I think of situations where you're the only teacher at a school, and so you're coming up with ideas how to do it, and maybe you don't have someone that you can bounce things off of. Over the course of the week, we're starting from the very, very beginning, talking about how do we get the beginner players up and running, but also, even as we were mapping out the outline of some of the topics to cover, there are some really exciting topics in here, day 3, day 4, day 5, with those x-rays, with michis, with, how are you teaching your kids using these tools. I think for me, these are all processes and strategies that you can take from this week of camp with Bret and then apply to your program for the fall, for the spring, for years to come. And you can actually take that information and put it into action immediately right afterwards.
And I encourage the instructors and teachers out there who are not percussionists to get into things like this, to get into these kind of classes, because we used to periodically every couple of years we'll run a class at Vandercook College of Music, and it'll be like a week-long class full of band directors. So I might have 10 or 15 band directors, maybe 2 or 3 of which were percussionists. So they all play other instruments, and it's awesome to watch their face as they go through the first 2 or 3 days of just drumming eights, and I'm fixing their hands, and they're doing it like. And at the first day, they're all afraid. They don't want to play because they're really like self-conscious. You know what I mean? Like I would be too. if I was going into a wind class or string class, I would not want to, I'd try to figure it out before everybody else. And then by day 2 or 3, it's like you come in after a break or after lunch, man, and they're all like drumming already. They're going at it. They're like on their pad, or they're on a set of tenors, or like they're starting to realize that, man, they really did want to be a drummer. But you know what I mean? Like, and the cool thing about doing the online thing is you're at home drumming and learning. So teachers, grab a pad, grab sticks.
Yes.
Like, just relaxing and take an hour and a half out of the day and just go, so this is what I need to do with my kids this fall. This is going to help a lot. I think there's a lot of great methods, programs at different universities, but I think there's a lot that aren't so great. A lot of times, and I know that's probably going to get me in trouble, but a lot of times they get handed off.
It's like an afterthought, right?
Yeah, it's handed off to the TA or the GA in some places, and it's like they may have X amount of teaching experience. Where, if you went to Vandercook College of Music, you had Kevin Lepper, who had 35 years, was an amazing teacher, could walk in and kill it with fifth graders and go down the hallway and kill it with the doctoral class. Mm-hmm. Like, he has this amazing range. Well, not everyone gets that experience. Right. So I think this is a chance, and as more and more of these videos come out, our goal is to develop more things for educators, for the band alone, to supplement classes in these times of video teaching, or to just enhance their knowledge to be better teachers and feel more comfortable about what to say. Yeah. I think that's where the adversity, a lot of times there can be tension between directors and drumlines and percussionists because the director isn't sure what to say. Am I right? Right.
Drumline, you guys are too loud. You're too loud.
Yeah. Well, they don't talk to the kids the way they do the winds because they're not sure pedagogically what to say. Mm-hmm. So then the kids feel like they might not care as much or aren't really paying attention to them, and that's where things can go off the rails. So if you really want to get your kids, if you feel like that's happening to you, these are the kinds of things you need to be doing as a director to allow you to get more of your feet under you, I guess, in terms of verbiage, what to say, because sometimes the kids will be impressed if you walk up and go, yeah, right now, Johnny, you need to relax those back fingers and make sure you're really keeping them on the stick and then really control that tap down, and they're going to be like, oh, wow, so Mr. Smith does know something about this, So, again, just all of us getting better is the hope.
Absolutely. And some of the things that we're going to be able to offer, again, because of the technology, one of the questions that we received in the comments is, will this be live only, or can we be accessed afterwards? So for everyone that signs up for the week-long session, we're going to make those video replays available for you. Let's say you're working that day or you're running another class yourself from 1 to 2:30 Central next week, starting on the 27th. We'll have all those videos replay available for the duration of the week so that you can go back, rewatch them, and get there and prepare for the next day, because there's going to be a couple of really exciting things going on. Obviously, I think the Q&A is a huge draw, because just getting to ask Bret directly your question, again, Bret is kind of that guy that just, there's a reason why all the guys who marched under Bret call him Yoda, and he can kind of sum everything up for you in 2 or 3 pieces of golden advice. But also, maybe we can talk a little bit about the skeletal breakdown. I know this is going to be an entire couple days of information, but the skeletal breakdown, and then how we're going to incorporate the audience into the actual class so that it's more interactive and it's not just, hey, here's how you do it.
Right. So the hope is if depending on the pace of the class, because we want to keep the pace appropriate to the questions we're hearing come in and the levels that we think we might have out there. Based on that, as we progress through the first 3 days, organically now, naturally, by day 3 or 4, probably 4, I'll hopefully be introducing what I call musical x-ray. And then what we'd like to do is perhaps have a couple, 2 or 3 of you, maybe even midweek, send in a part maybe from your show for this fall, or something you've been working on that you're having trouble with. Like, give us 2 measures that you're having an issue with, or is there 4 bars? And, we'll just take that little snippet and we'll let everybody go home that day, and then hopefully the next day people will have created some kind of skeleton for that. And Wei and I will have our version of how we would probably break that down, and let hopefully be able to help you personally with one or two spots in your show, or at least see other examples of this is how we could probably make this better faster. And it's really going to, I think you're going to be amazed at basically how it keeps bringing you back to basics. When you wipe away all the ornaments, you're back to the tree again. So eights, accent tap, blah, blah, blah. And I think that'll be fun because some kids might get personal help with some excerpts as well.
Yeah, yeah. I cannot imagine having this level of access and information being a middle school kid, much less a high school or even a college student. I mean, when I tell students that I grew up in an age before YouTube, they're like, well, how did you learn or watch anything? I'm like, man, we were lucky if we got a VHS tape of last summer's show. If you missed it on PBS, the broadcast, then that was it. You missed it. We'll see you next year.
Right.
And now, essentially, whether you're a student at home trying to figure things out by yourself and you're like, what am I supposed to be practicing right now? Or you're a teacher looking for ideas to apply for the fall, or you're a college professor looking for things to program for this upcoming fall, we're essentially going to do our very best to beam Bret into the comfort and convenience of your home so that you can get this information that previously before you would have to provide a plane ticket and a hotel and housing and many, many hours of Bret's genius to come out and deliver to your students. So if you would like more information on this, let me just...
Okay.
audio on that last part. Sorry, thanks, Lloyd. Lost audio for just 1 second. The gist of it was that the break...
Lloyd, the
yeah.
the technological guru.
Yeah, Lloyd's like, we have a sound. Probably get the audio engineer on the phone. They
Right.
got back. What I wanted to say...
Funny. Go ahead.
What I wanted to say was that the breakdown for the day-to-day topics will be in here, and while we do have a structure for the class, the flow and the content of the class will be very dependent on the participants within the class. If there are more questions about one thing, we can go one way or the other. The most important thing is that we just want to make sure that we're answering the questions and providing as much valuable as possible to everyone that does attend next week's session.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I look forward to it. And again, thanks to Wei and the team there for all the incredible support and being able to put together this quickly. I never imagined it would come together this fast. So super excited to get cracking next week and just share some information and have some fun drumming. So
yeah, that's gonna be good. We get the live music set up. Brett's gonna. Do you want to show everyone the pad and the stick set? Like we've been working out the framing.
Yeah, man, we're getting the logistics worked out here. We got the desk that goes up and down. How exciting, right? Like that's something new new for me. But yeah, we're going to be set up here and going to be playing some tracks for us to drum along with. We've got, like I said, we're going to do some odd time as well as just a lot of just learning, warming up together, playing through fundamentals and basics. So it is going to go from 0 to 60 by the end of the week in terms of just some of the things I'll throw out there, you guys, especially with Michi's and some possibilities with that grid as well as the excerpt stuff and maybe some things that we see from some of the people who join us. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I do want to say real quick, I'll mention this again next week, but what a privilege and honor, Bret, to get to kind of go on this next journey with you with the delivery of the information via technology. You know, I think back to when in 02, 03, 04, I was kind of getting my feet wet. And in preparation for the camp next week, I was digging through emails and looking for links and things like that. And I saw an email back from 05 when I first moved to Chicago. You know, so I'd marched with you for 3 years at that point. And just looking through some of those email threads, man, you were so generous and welcoming. You said, hey, I want to get you out in Prospect, do some teaching. So I got to spend a semester watching you do that. And just that apprenticeship continued on even after I graduated from the Corps. And so to be able to kind of give a chance to hopefully give back a little bit and do this next little project with you is going to be such a blast. I'm really, really looking forward to it next week.
Absolutely. Me included, Wei. Me included.
All right. Let me see if there are any wrapping up comments here just to come in. Mark asked if this would be available live afterwards. So yes, Mark, we're going to make those video replays live. Jim says, do you have a link with more information? Yep, Jim, we will drop that down below in the comments and it'll be available in the description as well. You can go to drumlineblueprint.com/classes and it'll be the featured class listed under there. William says, just wanted to say off of what Bret said earlier that it would be really so awesome if more band directors understood the workings and rudimental breakdowns for the percussion to help relate to them more. Because you know the kids, they don't know what you're talking about. This is good stuff. So,
absolutely.
So I would say that this class, if you're saying like, who is this class for? If you are a student at home practicing on your own, you're that student that is practicing 2, 3, 5, 6, 10 hours a day, and you want to make sure that you're maximizing your time when you're practicing by yourself, this would be a good session for you. If you're a teacher looking to think ahead to what am I going to do this semester? How am I going to work with my students? What are some fresh ideas that I can incorporate into my workflow? This would be a good session for you. If you're a band director that's looking to learn how to communicate with your percussionist, we're going to start from the beginning. Like, here are your sticks. This is the first thing you're going to play, all the way to some advanced, you know, Jedi style teching, teaching, breakdown techniques. Yeah, I mean, Yoda, Jedi. We've been watching some. We got the Disney Plus thing going on here, so we've been watching some Star Wars.
There you go. There you go. Gotta have that little Mandalorian.
Yeah. But this will be a good session for you as well. So we're really looking forward to seeing everyone next week. Again, all that information is live right now. You can go to drumlineblueprint.com/classes. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us because Bret will also be launching his Facebook page this week. So I know that is going to be a big blockbuster release. He's going to have a flood of friends and family coming in.
Wei will be launching my Facebook page.
And Bret will be saying, hey, that's good. Do more of that. So.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's great, man. Thanks for everybody for tuning in and can't wait for next week.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them below in the comments because we will see those even though this is a replay. And for everyone else, thanks again for tuning in this. Please take a moment to like this video if you enjoyed it, share it out with your friends and family and or other your educators, student friends that you think this would be useful for. And we hope to see everyone next week. All right. Thanks, everyone. Awesome. We'll see ya.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
See ya. All right. Let me grab some tea. I'll be right back. All right. Well, thank you for that. Do whatever you need to do here. All right. Nice. Wait, who was that? Oh, Devin. Of course the dash doesn't work like I want it to when we do that. It's like, yeah, okay, here we go. Showing off. It's like, come on, man. I gotta read the instructions again. Yeah, I'm gonna get a bunch of emails pumped out.